But first, once again, Australia is betraying Israel in its hour of need. And once again, it is stabbing our ally in the back and giving comfort to terrorists, this time the great terrorist regime of Iran. And what makes this betrayal the worst is that it comes just 2 days before Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will meet US President Donald Trump to plead for him not to scrap our AUKUS deal to buy American nuclear submarines. Submarines America actually needs itself. Claiming, and this is the joke now, that Australia is an ally the US can trust. Let me start first with the government's betrayal of Israel in its war with Iran. A war that has Israeli cities bombed like Tel Aviv and also Haifa. Purely civilian targets hit when Israel's famous Iron Dome missile defence was overwhelmed by the sheer number of missiles being fired at the country. Now, this war started on Friday when Israel bombed Iran's nuclear weapons sites after taking out its anti-aircraft defences and killing many of Iran's top military and intelligence chiefs, from its most powerful general down, in strikes of incredible precision, which suggests not just superb Israeli technology, but a lot of intelligence help from Iranian dissidents. Now, Donald Trump today refused to condemn Israel for that attack. In fact, there are strong indications the US approved it to remove the greatest danger to Israel's existence, which is Iran's nuclear weapons program.
I think it's time for a deal and we'll see what happens, but sometimes they have to fight it out.
But from the Albanese government, we instead got ridiculous refusals from the Prime Minister, from the Foreign Minister, from the Defence Minister, all refusing to say Israel was right to destroy this existential threat to a country that's just 1/3 the size of Tasmania, and so could be virtually destroyed by just 1 or 2 nuclear bombs. Here are our 3 blind mice.
I've expressed before our concern about Iran gaining the capacity of nuclear weapons, but we, along with other like-minded countries, do want to see that priority on dialogue and diplomacy.
Australia is alarmed by the escalation between Israel and Iran. We all understand the threat of Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile program, and we urge the parties to prioritise dialogue and diplomacy.
Does the government support Israel?
Well, we understand the threat to the world, really, and peace and stability of Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile program. What we are very much urging at this moment is dialogue and diplomacy.
A moral appeases all of them, essentially refusing to distinguish between an Iranian terrorist regime and democratic Israel, the country that Iran's leaders have threatened repeatedly to wipe out. Even Iran's ambassador to Australia just last year said Australia was a Zionist plague that he looked forward to getting wiped out by 2027. But this ridiculous argument by our 3 blind mice that sure, Iran's nuclear weapons program, it's bad, but Israel should just keep negotiating with Iran. Here's Wong again today, seriously suggesting that we could talk Iran into dropping its plans for a nuclear bomb and the destruction of Israel.
No one doubts the threat Iran poses. We have long been speaking about this as an international community. We have long put sanctions in place. Australia has been part of the pressure that has been applied to the Iranian regime. The question is, what do you do about it, and is your response going to risk dire consequences for the region?
But honestly, all those Australian little memos and our tut-tutting and these cries for negotiating with Iran. People have been negotiating now for decades with that country, and it has solved nothing. As Israel's ambassador said on the weekend, words don't stop warheads. Now, let me take you through the timeline to show how witless this Australian response really is. These calls for both sides to de-escalate, as if Israel is somehow as much to blame as Iran for having to save itself and the world from a nuclear holocaust. Last April, 63 days before Israel's attack, the Politico website reported that Donald Trump had sent Iran's supreme leader a letter with a warning. Iran had a 60-day deadline to make progress on talks over its nuclear program or face potential military retaliation. No wonder a deadline was needed, because Iran has for many, many years secretly worked on building nuclear bombs, enriching uranium to levels much higher than it needed for nuclear power, for instance. But the Ayatollah wouldn't listen. And the very day before Israel's attack, this is last Thursday, the United Nations International Atomic Energy Agency passed an extraordinary resolution of a kind it hadn't done for 20 years, admitting Iran has been lying to it for years about its banned nuclear program, had blocked inspectors, had lied about traces of enriched uranium that inspectors had found at 3 undeclared Iranian sites. It said Iran now had more than 400 kilos of uranium enriched to near weapons grade, enough for potentially 9 nuclear bombs.
It's doing something like this at a level which is very, very close to the level that you need to have a nuclear explosive device, then we cannot ignore it.
And Israel certainly did not ignore that. The very next day, it attacked Iran's nuclear and military infrastructure and leaders. It may not have destroyed their nuclear facilities because they are buried so deep underground, but it surely has delayed Iran getting the weapons, the nuclear weapons that would have given it huge power to the world's biggest sponsor of terrorist groups.
We can't have the world's most dangerous regime have the world's most dangerous weapons. We're protecting ourselves, but by doing so, we're protecting many others.
So you tell me how Israel could be criticised for escalating anything. I mean, Iran had already armed and funded 3 of the world's biggest terrorist armies, all of them attacking Israel. Hamas, which launched the October 7 attacks, Hezbollah, which fired thousands of rockets at Israel and missiles too from Lebanon, and the Houthis firing missiles from Yemen. Iran itself has fired many more missiles at Israel. And let's not forget that Iran is also part of the axis of authoritarian regimes, including China, Russia and North Korea, all trying to topple the West's leadership, all supporting each other. So what were Albanese, Wong and Miles actually waiting for with their talk? Waiting for Iran to actually have nuclear weapons? Waiting for Israel's total destruction before admitting, oh, Israel was right, our bad. Really, there's only one thing our government should have said to Israel for smashing Iran's nuclear site, and it's this: thank you. Israel, thank you. And one last thing. I said this was the worst time for Albanese and co. to show how useless they are to democratic allies, giving comfort to Iran by refusing to back what Israel has done. It is the worst time because America is now reviewing whether it can afford to sell us some of its nuclear submarines when it has too few of them for itself, with China rising. We desperately need these submarines, or we risk soon having none at all with China on the march. And Albanese said today, well, this subs deal, I'm going to argue, is good for America too, because we're allies. That means the subs won't be lost to America if they're given to us. But when he was asked directly today, this betrayer of Israel, can America actually count on Australia to come to its rescue as well, in war, rescue it with our new American subs? He couldn't give a straight answer.
Can Donald Trump and America be confident that Australia would stand shoulder to shoulder with them in the event of a major conflict in the Indo-Pacific, and in the event that China invades Taiwan, or by whatever means that happens, as has been a stated goal by the CCP?
Well, the role of AUKUS and the role of nation states in our region, including our partners, is for peace and security in the region.
Does anyone believe that a government of the future led by someone like Albanese would lend its subs to the United States in a war with China after seeing how this government has betrayed even Israel? How fickle does Australia look now after this weekend of shame?